Why? That is the question people ask me the most. Pourquoi? Why? For what? Why do you wake up this world? Why do you tempt faith? Why do you risk death? But I don't think of it this way. I never even say this word, death, la mort. Yes, okay, I said it once, so maybe 3 times just now, but watch, I will not say it again. Instead, I use the opposite word, love. For me, waking up this world, this is love. C'est la vie. My story begins with the world's most unbelievable deception. The spinning ball.
My name is Miranda, born in England, educated in the Netherlands, and now living in the countryside of France. About 3 years ago, my world started to turn inside out and upside down. It still is in a way. The change in how I see the world started when I was bored out of my mind and had absolutely nothing to do. With the intent to challenge my brain, I picked up a book and read a specific collection of poems. Yet quite quickly I found myself falling down a very deep rabbit hole. To continue reading and understanding these poems, I had to make a radical decision. Either these poems were telling the truth, or they were just a literary expression of someone's imagination. After a long while, I chose the first, for reasons I will not go into now. Yet for months I struggled with the idea if I was either absolutely mad, or if there really is a God, and I was being confronted with his omnipotence through the words I was reading. These poems have brought me to a completely new perspective on the perception of time, self-identity, and really everything my eyes can and cannot see. And I started to really look around me as if I had new eyes. I was in awe of what my senses were telling me. I saw the sun passing over my head and saw the moon in her different states. And I wondered about these lights, and I asked myself if I knew what they really were. It was the moon that really challenged my thought process, because I could not figure out why her light made the night so cold, and why her light was so blue. How could this be if she was reflecting the sun's light that was so warm and yellow? And I looked at the pictures of Earth taken by NASA. And I wondered about them too, because I was seeing the blue marble each time, but with the same continents being different sizes on every one of them. The more I looked into what this space agency was telling the world, the more I started to doubt the scientific story about the Earth. And at the same time, I was still stumbling about with my belief and faith in God. I've always considered myself as my own compass, even though my needle often points in another direction than what is commonly accepted. Yet I am human too, and I needed confirmation that I was not the only one that had questions about what was presented as reality. I did find confirmation that I was not alone in my silliness. And because God had also made an unusual entrance into my life, I was reading the Bible as well. It was in this book that I found reasons to question the insignificant spinning oblate spheroid in the vacuum of space. So many verses in the Bible pointed me to look at the earth as a level plane that is stationary and, until Judgment Day, immovable. So for a long time I walked around feeling like a complete lunatic, at least in my own mind. I couldn't find anyone else that thought the way I did. Since the beginning of 2015, I have followed the numerous developments in this flat earth movement with great interest. Even though I do not know where the circuit of the earth begins or ends, and I do not know the shape and substance of the firmament above me, God has brought me to watch this movement unfold. A movement that has made me finally lose my garment of lunacy and help me continue my endless questioning of the earth I live in and the people of it. A movement of bold minds breaking free from the bonds of worldly deceptions into the truth that is God. And I must conclude, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my God, my strength in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower.
Think of a child. If you had not already indoctrinated a child and told him or her that the world was a globe, what would he think when you showed him a globe and you said, okay, you live up here in America. Now, if you are here in America and you begin to walk down, you walk underneath the equator, what's going to happen to you? Your head is up here. When you get down here, you walk across the equator, your head is going to be down, facing down. That is self-evident. That is about the simplest proof that you could give anyone that we do not live on a globe. Now, you look that up and you'll find all kinds of reasons as to why they say that men are always standing up straight. Bogus. Absolutely bogus. It makes no sense.
One other question that she asked, and a lot of people ask this question, and I think it's a good question, so we're going to also address it really quick. So she goes, I'm on board with many things. There are still questions I have, but I can definitely see why there are so many flat earthers. The question her husband gave her, however, is, if it's true, does it change how I live my life? For me, I have to say no. It would be nice if it's true for the government to acknowledge and stop charades. However, I find it really hard, especially knowing someone that works for NASA and his job is to get new packages ready, yada, yada, yada. So again, what difference does it make? Like I said, that's a great question. This is something that is not an easy answer because of the magnitude of what we're talking about here. How it will change your life, first of all, when you understand it, is dramatic, to say the least. Will it change you from having to go to your job every day and the things that you typically do every day? No. But when this knowledge becomes more mainstream and these agencies are starting to be held accountable, and you understand that they're all participating in this, not just the United States government, not just NASA, but China, Russia, India, all of them have space programs. They all have the same symbolism. They're all doing the exact same thing to their citizenry. And the first thing you have to understand about this is that the deception goes all the way to the top. And when I say all the way to the top, you have to kind of get rid of the notion that the people at the very highest levels are working together. The people that control the world we're not against each other. There was never any such thing really as the Cold War. We're really not enemies with anybody else. This is all a facade that's being brought on for our benefit. But the people that are in power, that have all the money, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the on and on and on, these are the people that literally run the central banking system, which of course has permeated the entire world. And any country that tries to get away from it, their leaders are quickly assassinated. It goes on and on and on. So you have to understand conspiracies a little bit to understand the magnitude of this deception. So why would they do this? Why are they trying to hide the fact that we are on an infinite plane or on a flat earth rather than a ball? Well, the answer to that, there's a lot of answers to that, but in my personal opinion, if you isolate people into the idea that they're on a blue marble that's in the middle of a universe that is really insignificant, and there's thousands or millions and billions of other worlds and possibly other civilizations, that makes most people think that we are insignificant and that we did actually come about as some sort of an accident. Now, when people believe that, their minds are much more malleable into being given the idea that there is no God, there is no creator, that all of this is just some sort of random happenstance. And because of that, that also gives the controllers this fertile soil to build other deceptions on. And it's all about control. Remember, it's not about money. Money is irrelevant. They print the money. Money is just something that you and I agree has value, but it really is just pieces of paper, right? These people are printing the money. They can print money all day long if they want to, and they do. So it's not about that, and it's not just about power either. It's about total control, mental, physical, spiritual, every way, shape, and form possible.
Now also consider this. Consider an airplane that begins to fly down south. Now we've seen videos and heard other people talk about how that plane would have to constantly be correcting its altitude and pushing its nose downward in order to stay level with the earth. Well, if it did that, by the time it got down here, it's upside down. The pilot would be flying upside down. That is a very, very simple truth. So if you presented a globe to a child who'd never been indoctrinated in the ways of men, do you think a child would believe that they live on a globe? How could that possibly make sense? It doesn't make sense. I think this is the simplest proof that we can offer people.
Number one, to come into the truth movement, if you're really concerned about truth, you've got to check an ego at the door, okay? You do not know everything. A lot of you think you do, but you don't. I certainly don't. Through your school system, through your education that you're so proud of, that builds your whole ego, your whole value in life, it's impossible for you to discard it and admit you were deceived. Let me tell you something. You've been deceived. It's not your fault. You can let go of your ego. Nobody's going to laugh at you except other people that can't let go of their ego. But the one thing they fear is 300 million people in the United States coming together on one topic and saying, this makes no sense. We need answers. Why is the flat earth so important? Because it shows the deception. There are enough reasonable questions to create reasonable suspicion that we've been lied to. They can't afford to keep being asked. Whether the earth actually turned out to be diamond-shaped, cross-shaped, pear-shaped, there's enough to see that it's not what we've been told. And once that is revealed, everything these governments have done becomes illegitimate. That is why it matters. And that is why they will do anything they can to keep us fighting, keep us distracted, keep us at odds against each other, just like the entire world. Government that truly has your best interest, your freedom at heart? Or does it sound like a government that wants to keep you constantly busy on paying attention to anything but what they're doing? And this truth movement is no different. Because as soon as the topic starts going where everybody could actually make a stand and say, hey, wait a minute, this needs to be answered. This is a big one. And I don't care what anybody says, the flat earth, the shape of the earth, is the biggest conspiracy and has been used to manipulate, deceive, and control us all. Flat earth is not a psyop. Flat earth destroys the psyop. Every psyop that's been used to control us for as long as they've known about it. So this system has been in power and control for hundreds of years, ever since they convinced the rest of the world that they didn't know where they live, and created this fantastical scenario to make people feel insignificant and to follow those that appear to know better, that are just better liars, deceivers, that have no conscience, and will do everything and anything to everybody and anybody they can to keep that power. Because people are waking up. And no matter how much they try to suppress this flat earth movement, oh, it's gonna keep moving one way or another. You can see it. People are waking up. So now, louder than ever, I can hear that clock. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The control system. They have to keep indoctrinating you in schools, teaching you about everything and anything but where you live. Now they have to treat out all the money that was going into the educational system to control your mind isn't working anymore. People see how stupid everybody is. That is the failure of government. See, Flat Earth proves the failure of government, period. Because it's either deceived and lied and indoctrinated us all into a false system, or it's completely failed in making people realize if they really live on a globe, a lot of people don't see it. So your education system has failed now, hasn't it? In order to believe it, we've got to believe a bunch of math formulas that only a few people in the world can supposedly understand, and we've just got to take your word for it. Here in this age of all this technology where I can get on this phone, record this video, and send it out to the world, they can't seem to find a way to easily, simply prove to everybody on the planet where they live. It always depends on some formulas that the majority of the people don't understand. And again, the people that do understand it don't understand it. They either that know it's bullshit or they believe it's bullshit because it's just religion and it's to fit their agenda. It doesn't wash out in reality. What difference does it make? What difference does it make? Yeah, that's their favorite line. Got a lot of people, what difference does it make? You can't figure out what difference it makes? If you can't figure out what difference it makes that the people running your world have fucking lied to you over and over your whole life, if you can't figure out that someone lying to you is trying to control you, why am I having to explain this to critical thinkers in the truth movement? Where you live, it's been a lie the whole time. And if everybody would just come together and demand answers, they would be in checkmate. They would not know what the fuck to do. They cannot prove it. They can't prove the globe because it doesn't exist.
And so these bad magicians stage all this fakery because my love for you began from the day that I was born, and I've been lied to ever since.
You see, Pinocchio, a lie keeps growing and growing until it's as plain as the nose on your face.
One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been lied to long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the lie. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The lie has now captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we have now been taken. Once you give a liar power over you, you almost never get it back.
And you have to remember how big of a conspiracy this is. This isn't talking about just the JFK thing or isn't talking about just 9/11. It's on an umbrella kind of system to where it is the biggest deception that there is. It actually exposes every other deception, and nothing else brings down the power of the elite because it really exposes education, science, the economy, television, museums, universities. Think of all the things that have been fooled. I feel worse for the people that are out there building satellites, the people that are out there actually working for these space agencies, the people out there teaching in schools as professors, because they would all come to the conclusion eventually, once this gets out, that they've all been contributing to the lie. And that's got to be the worst feeling that there is. And that's why you have a hard time with a Neil deGrasse or a Bill Nye, these guys ever even considering that the Earth might not be what they were taught, because they understand if it's not, then their entire lives have been about promoting the lie. They are tool pieces for the elite, for the lie system, and it really destroys everything. And I'm a perfect example, John, of what you were talking about. When I realized religion had some things in it that didn't quite fit with my reality, and I was done with it, I realized there was many lies there. I popped out of that, and the one place that's there with open arms, calling for you, saying, we tell nothing but the truth, we're all about facts and evidence, is science. And I went there with my arms open, ready to embrace them, and said, oh, thank you, I'm so glad you're here, because over there I was just getting lied to left and right, and now I know science is the place to go. Now, thank goodness I'm into research and things that I wanted to know everything about it. I wasn't comfortable in just saying, well, now I realize religion's a lie, I'm just going to be scientific and promote science and just say the word science when anybody talks to me. It would have been really easy. I could have paraded myself around and been really Mr. Smart Guy and been able to debate Christians, and would have been really easy for me. But instead, I decided to look into it. I wanted to know, why is evolution real? Where's the evidence? Why are these things facts? How do they know the age of the Earth? And the more and more I looked into it, and the more I asked these so-called science backers, the more I realized it was another religion. And that's ultimately, and I'll admit it, an atheist for probably 6 months. And thank goodness I looked into that science. But I notice out there all these other guys who are just making these debunk videos or calling us crazy. The difference between me and them is that they don't want to research it, or they don't know how to research past the deception layer. I mean, you have to understand, this is the biggest deception ever. It can never be let out. So if you're looking for, well, why does Jaron say this? And you go look up Google or something like that, and you just search it one time and don't try and look at any other sources besides the mainstream sources, then you shouldn't be surprised that you're going to get the exact answer you're looking for. That's only going to confirm what the elitists, or what these people who are fooling us from the top down, what they want you to find. And then they go and make videos claiming these are evidence that we're wrong. And they say, well, these guys didn't even research it. If they would have looked it up one time, they would have found it. That's crazy talk. If you think we don't know the mainstream reasoning behind it, that we don't need to bring that up to people, because anybody like you can go look it up and find that exact answer. That's not doing research. And this is a deception on the highest level that you need to go and dig deeper and look at different bits and pieces and put it together and come up with your own explanation. Because if you're just going to take what mainstream tells you and believe it, then go watch Fox News and enjoy what the mainstream wants you to enjoy. That's the way that they operate. So I just think when it comes down to people asking, how does it affect my life? No, I guess it depends on you. If you don't care that you've been lied to about everything from school, from kindergarten on, everything that you were taught in school was meant to get your mind into a certain frame of reference, to make you think about the world a certain way, to make you think about your parents, and to make you think about your friends, and to make you think about your government, all in a prescribed way to make the rich get richer and make you into a wage slave. If you don't care that that happened, if you're happy going to your 9-to-5 job and you're comfortable in your belief about who your creator is, then it doesn't affect your life. For a lot of us, that is a pretty big deal. For me, it looks like 35 years of my life was completely wasted on a false existence that someone else decided to sell me. I'm going to spend the rest of my life exposing it, because I don't think it's right. It's not the way you treat other people. It's not the way you treat other beings. We all have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And somebody just said that. They told us that, but then behind the scenes, they made sure that they kept us unhappy and that we weren't free, and that they were the ones who got to enjoy the good life while we worked for them.
that they push in mainstream news. Go and watch some more gal, maybe then watch Flat Earth Clues. I use my eyes and I can see the world is flat. They say trust NASA, but I won't be doing that. Their videos are fake and all the tactics flawed. They'll do anything to cut the ties we have with God. The evidence shows there's no curvature at all. Yet science tells us that we're living on a ball. I don't claim to understand the trigonometry. We're not on a spinning globe, this anyone can see.
Can you see the miracles around you? Everything was created for our benefit. Microscopic organisms that engulf every living thing on the earth was created just for us. That, my friends, is a love that's amazing and unconditional. Have you noticed the miracles around you? Our earth is not an accident. We are not an accident. Who are these people who have kept this from us? What are they? We have taken our first huge step to break away from the programming. We have thrown all that we've been taught out the window to finally take our discernment back from all of men's scientific and religious indoctrinations. As we rid of the layers of concepts of science and religion, we begin to understand what it means to abide by our spirit of discernment, for it is ours from birth. We know right from wrong. We know righteousness. We are beginning to peel layer after layer of worthless concepts of science and religion that have kept us blinded from the truth, to finally see glimmers of light. We are taking our blindfolds off and coming out of the darkness. A new era has begun because everything we knew is obsolete. We are taking our first steps, and we will no longer rely on the deceivers, because we will discern the truth from now on. Can you see the miracles? Do you realize what this means? We are unique. We are family. We are humanity. And we are coming together we will no longer be divided, because we know what divides us: science and religion. The age of deception is over.
So ultimately, to get back to the question, how will it change your daily life? Well, until it's actually exposed, not a whole lot, because we're still slaves to this very same system. We still have to go to our jobs, we still have to pay the bills, yada, yada, yada. However, think about when this idea catches on and the awareness of the level of deception that we are kept under. And I think a lot of people are waking up to it. 9/11, being the fraud that it is, Sandy Hook being a fraud, on and on and on. But at some point, we're hoping that this is going to hit critical mass. And when it does, then all of a sudden, these institutions that are taking billions and trillions of dollars from us to simply enslave us, to keep us going to work every day and never having enough money or time, and other countries that are starving, have no medical attention. And in fact, there's active campaigns to kill these people off, and this is a well-known agenda. But all this aside, when this all goes away, then we're talking about an entirely different world. Then we're talking about the kind of world that would be, I dare say, more utopian. And that isn't always necessarily a good thing either, but let's just say that it would be a whole lot better than what we have now. If people understood that we are special, that there is a creator, and that really, when people come to this realization, we will start becoming more aware of the value of other humans and human life. And we don't look at people as, well, just because they're different from us, then they're wrong and they're funny and they're weird. We see each other as brothers, and we see each other as related in family, and we start respecting each other on a level that is due to everyone. And when that happens, and we get rid of the governments that are enslaving us and the people above the governments that are controlling them, then all of a sudden we start looking at a society where we can start improving upon ourselves. We can start making our own technologies that will benefit humanity, instead of the elite usurping all these technologies and using it for themselves against us. Like, we can have unlimited free power, and there's just so many things. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on about this, and many people have researched this. But at that point, everything changes. Absolutely everything changes, because we no longer are living in a slave world. We're living in a truly free world where everybody is sovereign and everybody has much more respect for other selves, other people. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. So it is a big thing. It really is. You can't just brush it off as saying, what difference does it make? It's not going to change anything. Au contraire, not only will it change things, it will change things in it'll bring us to an entirely new paradigm, an entirely new way of life.
This is how we will reach the stars. Are you ready to put on your spacesuit? Strap in for the G-force liftoff. Countdown is getting very close now to the adventure of a lifetime.
We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there.
attempt the impossible? Why follow your dream? But I cannot answer this question why, not with words, but I can show you how it happened.
The earth is flat.
This what?
The earth is flat.
Okay.
Have fun on the flat earth! Research it!